So we ended up seeing a beautiful bounce take place with the S&P 500, which is exactly in sync with what I shared in yesterday's video, highlighting that this recent selling pressure that we saw was exaggerated and how this was going to present itself as a dip buying opportunity for the broader markets. Now, in this video, I kind of just want to provide an update for the S&P 500 as well as just touch on Tesla stock as well. So make sure to watch this video in its entirety because I want to start off by just kind of sharing why we saw some optimism for today. Now, number one, we ended up getting an economic report that was updated, which was a PCE index, the personal consumer expenditure report. And as you can tell, surprise, the Fed favored inflationary gauge shows slower price increases in November. So this is definitely a plus from an economic standpoint. Now, I kind of want to real quickly, just recap why we saw this selling pressure in the first place. Now, recently we had the FOMC meeting and we had the Fed cut, but they had a more hawkish rhetoric, right? And one of the things that concerned a lot of market participants is how we ended up getting the dot plot showing that for 2025, the Fed isn't likely to cut as much as we thought before. For example, this is what we got December 18th, just a couple of days ago. But back in September 18th, so just a few months ago, they originally had plans of cutting more in 2025. But we ended up seeing that now they have no plans of cutting as much as they did back in September. And so the plans changed for their projections, and that scared a lot of market participants. But one of the things I said was, look, the Federal Reserve often gets things wrong. Just like they said, inflation was transitory. And so this was a bit exaggerated. But then plus the economic update of their preferred inflationary gauge actually showing up positive, well, that makes things all the better. And that's exactly what I shared in yesterday's video. Do not panic sell. It's going to cost you thousands, right? You don't want to go ahead and panic sell, especially when volatility hit a real strong peak. Let's take a look at the VIX, which is the volatility index. And we saw that it, had this huge rise upwards. And when there's a lot of fear in the market, that's when you want to be greedy. I mean, it's not that hard, right? The concept is when everyone's having some fear, that's when you're greedy. And when everyone's greedy, that's when you want to have fear, right? You want to be kind of this contrarian and have that approach for the market. But let's go ahead and toggle over to Tesla, right? Because while the broader markets pulled upwards, what did we end up seeing with Tesla? Well, it ended up falling down even further. And let's actually just transition to a line chart. Charles Dow, who is like the founder of modern day technical analysis. Love to see line charts because they show the closing price. I like them as well because it gives you an easy picture to understand. Look, things are falling down for Tesla, but for the S&P 500, we're seeing this bounce. And so I actually mentioned that in yesterday's video. It actually mentioned how, look, I am likely to buy the dip for a lot of different positions. And I made a comment that I don't plan on buying the dip for Tesla. And I kind of want to address that, right? In fact, we have Bosch here who just, put a comment in yesterday's video saying, really against Tesla, eh? And, he was just commenting and asking. And I just mentioned, hey, look, I'm just not buying more at the moment. And I kind of want to address that, right? Because I think a lot of times when I provide these updates for Tesla, especially as it had this euphoric rise, people may kind of see that what I'm saying with Tesla may come off as bearish, when that's not necessarily the case. It's not that I'm shorting Tesla or I'm buying puts. I was just simply not buying more, especially after this huge rise upwards. I'm like, I think things are a bit extended from a fundamental perspective. And so me personally, again, you should only do whatever you see value in. And so if you want to buy more Tesla now, of course, do so. Do whatever you see fits for your personal portfolio. But for me, I was looking at Tesla, looking at the fundamentals and how we haven't had an update on the fundamentals yet. From let's take a look from pretty much the election results, which was November. Was it the 5th or the 6th? Someone comment down below. I'm not sure, but pretty much in between then to the peak, it went up 97%, and that's a huge move just based on the idea of deregulation. And so, well, obviously deregulation would help the robotaxi fleet. It would also help FSD. I was like, well, the fundamentals seem a bit frothy. I don't want to buy more Tesla. Now, that doesn't mean I'm against Tesla. It just means that, hey, look, I'm not buying more. And although we saw the markets kind of panic, I was like, I I think Tesla may start to fall down even further. And so that's kind of what I shared in yesterday's video. Just kind of want to put that out there that I'm not like, trashing Tesla. I just think that it's a bit frothy at these levels. And so I didn't want to buy the dip here because I thought the dip may get dippier. But I thought on the S&P 500, that exaggeration based on the Federal Reserve's dot plot was a bit too much, and that was going to present an opportunity. And that's really what you're doing when you're investing or participating in a market. You're trying to find arbitrage, right? The discrepancy between price and value. And while everyone was fearful, I was like, I think this is actually a good opportunity to go ahead and buy some more. And of course, there are individual companies that I do like, individual picks, right? By the way, this is off topic. I was just looking at Grindr, GRND. It's basically like a Tinder, but for the LGBTQ community. I was not looking at the stock, and I saw someone on X mention like how this has done so well for the year. Sometimes there's just names that I miss. I mean, this thing has, my goodness. Let's look at this, right? From the beginning of the year, let's actually map that on. This is completely off topic. I just saw this again because I was looking at it just recently. Somewhere from the beginning of the year till its peak, 118%. So, there's always opportunity somewhere else in the market. And so if you're frustrated, you just have to look elsewhere, right? And that's just completely off topic. I do apologize for going off tangent, but I want to go ahead and kind of just stay on the topic of, the S&P 500 and Tesla. Now, again, we talked about the dot plot, how it was changed from, cutting more to, kind of cutting less. But again, the Fed has a history of being incorrect. Now, going back to Tesla, when do I look to buy more? Well, I want to see, is the trend, basically I'm waiting for confirmation. That's one of the topics I talk about within the Push and Profit private group. And you want to look through confirmation through a various of different ways, right? You could look at it based on what is the overall market doing in comparison to Tesla. What are indicators showing? And so, again, I like to synthesize a fundamental perspective, a macro perspective, and also a technical perspective. I do think the technicals have a time and place. And so one of the things that I like looking at is the ADX, right? So that just shows the strength of the trend. We saw that the trend strength was strong, right? It's very robust going upwards. And we ended up seeing, well, now it's falling down. Right, so the trend is falling down. We look at the DMI. We see that now the direction of the trend. Right, you could clearly see the direction just based on the candles. Oh, when did I switch to a hollow chart? Let's go back to a line chart. Let's make it very simple. So the trend is falling downwards. But then when you layer over, let's actually take this off. Let's put the RSI. It's good to see Tesla stock pull back. And I know, right? I have Tesla stock in my portfolio. You want to see Tesla just continue going up. It's great. But there are times where you need to see a bit of a pullback that's healthy, right? You want to see a bit of a pullback because, that's just a secondary trend. One of the tenets in the Dow Jones is there's 3 different types of trends, right? You have the primary trend, which is the overall trend, right? And so we'll zoom out. The overall trend for Tesla stock is upwards. You have the secondary trend, which is just like the moves in between, right? So this falling down, that would be the secondary trend. We're falling down, but the larger trend over time is upwards. And then, of course, you have the minor trends, right? That's like the intraday, right? You really don't want to look at the intraday trends. You don't want to be worried about the minutia of what's going on every single day unless you're, maybe scalping or day trading, which I'm not against, right? I think there's a time and place. That's why I have a separate portfolio for trading, or day trading rather, and then a separate portfolio where I actually do like the bigger positions. But what I'm trying to say, right, is that, it's healthy to see the secondary trend kind of pull back. Because that gives us room for us in the future to eventually have the stock price align well with the fundamentals and allow us to continue pushing upwards. And so I just wanted to provide that update. Want to let people know I'm not bearish on Tesla. And also, just if you guys could do me a quick favor, if you guys could hit the like button. One of the things I noticed for the channel is that if I don't do a video strictly on Tesla, it does significantly less views in comparison to a video with Tesla. And so if you guys want to see my analysis on the broader markets or just individual stocks aside from Tesla, make sure to hit that like button, watch the videos in its entirety because it does signal to the algorithm, hey, people like you talking about other things other than Tesla. But of course, you're free to do whatever you see please. If you hate me talking about the broader markets and you only want to hear me, talk about Tesla, then by all means, only watch the Tesla videos and, send the signals for the Tesla videos. But if you do appreciate my analysis on different securities and in the broader markets, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I'll see you guys on this next video right over here. Take care, guys.